All right, you guys, everybody there? All right, so here we go. My water's over here, just like I discussed like before. I'm gonna put it on the side. You're not gonna see my water, but the water's really important. Watercolor doesn't come with a formula of just dip your brush in the water and that's gonna be it. It depends on how long you guys dip your brush in the water, how much you guys dry it on your paper towel. Sometimes you want your water to be super watery. Sometimes you want, or sorry, your paints to be super watery. The water's always going to be watery. But sometimes you want the paint to be a little dry, okay? This is where you guys have to play around. This is kind of the mess up stage, all right? If you have a big painting and you have something large to do, sometimes I recommend a wash. And a wash is just dipping your mop brush or whatever brush that you have that holds a lot of water into the cup and water your surface before you even get started, okay? My surface is small enough. I actually don't even care about this background. So I just care about like this center area. So my surface is small enough that I don't need to wash the actual surface. I could actually make my watercolors watery here on my well, okay? Sometimes you guys call this palettes. In the watercolor world, they like to call these wells. It is open to interpretation, and I'm okay. I don't mind which one you call it, right? When it comes to watercolors, most sets come, you guys could buy a set of 6. That's good enough to start with. If you guys just get a set of 6, that's perfect. You guys could get a set of 12, 24, I think the next one's like 36, and then you could also start making your own so they come in with little plates that are empty, and you guys just squeeze colors from the tube. That's actually what I do in my studio. Or there's certain colors that I like the richness of certain companies, so I vary them up a little bit. For what we're doing, this is fine. This is really good. We don't need anything else. Any other stuff is just to make our life complicated. We could complicate our lives later, okay? And on the side over here, I also have my paper towels. You can't see them, but I'll let you know when I'm actually using them quite a bit. That way you guys could actually see that I'm drying my brush as I'm working, and it's not always this super wet brush all the time, right? So let's pick a limited palette, all right? Whenever you're working, don't make your life complicated. You pick all the colors that you see here, you're gonna end up in a world of trouble, all right? I'll discuss about the colors that we're gonna use, and then you guys could kind of gauge them and change them around, okay? So I'm gonna use just one of my little old brushes, this little old round brush here, just to pick my color. So I'm dipping my brush in water, all right? And I'm gonna start with my yellow palette, all right? So I'm gonna grab my yellow ochre, which is, I don't know if you can see it, it's probably one of my favorite colors because it's one of the most used colors here, all right? And that's actually gonna be my yellow. That's gonna be my lightest yellow. Sometimes if I'm doing portraits, I like to use a lemon yellow too, but I'm not gonna use a lemon yellow too, all right? I think I'm happy with a yellow ochre. So I'm just adding water into my well. By the way, this is legitimately a student palette. Like, I don't get my palette this dirty. That a student did that for me, all right? I'm also gonna pick a little bit of an orange. I don't necessarily need an orange for much, but I do need it for something specific. I need it to desaturate my blues, okay? We're gonna be painting a lot with complementary colors. So if we understand complementary colors, we know that blues and oranges are complements and they make their cells muddy, all right? So yellow ochre, cadmium orange, all right? Once I get my cadmium orange, I'm also gonna get a cadmium red, okay? The cadmium red is the one that looks really orangey, but it's still now actually considered a red. So this guy's gonna help me desaturate my greens, all right? So if you guys have all kinds of ugly looking greens, that's actually gonna help you with getting your greens pretty ugly, all right? And I'm gonna just get a deeper version of a red. So I'm gonna get my crimson red. Sometimes for portraits, I'll change colors. I'll also use magenta, but right now I'm just gonna use a cooler red that's not that cold. So you get my crimson red. All right, that looks pretty good. You know what? Now that I see, I'm not gonna make my I'm not gonna grab a green from here, but I do need a little bit of a nicer green, so I am gonna grab my cadmium. And just to play around, I'm gonna throw that with my actual reds here. Here we go. And finally, on my blue side, and I'm gonna be grabbing colors all the time, okay? Now on my blue side, I'm gonna grab I could grab, if you don't have all these colors, this is cobalt, this is cadmium. You might actually get cadmium and not, not the, this is cerulean blue, this is cobalt, okay? You might actually not get cerulean blue, you might get cobalt or vice versa. Use whatever you get. I'm gonna go ahead and use my cerulean blue, not my cobalt. That's cobalt there. But they're pretty much cold. Both of them are very green. They're all blues are cold, but this is like a greenish blue. Just go ahead and grab that green one, right? All right. Done with that. And finally, I'm gonna get a purple looking color. So it's gonna be my French ultramarine. So this one's gonna be on the red side. And on this set, the French ultramarine blue is really purple, but it's not dioxide purple. That's dioxide purple right there. It's still French ultramarine, all right? And finally, I'm gonna grab my good old black. Just from this side. So the black, I am not gonna use my black for actual color. I'm gonna use my black for desaturation, okay? So I always like to have a black handy, and never, ever, ever am I just gonna use it as a pure straight up color, unless it's something stylized or something along those lines. But most of the time, black is just to change my values, right? So here we go. I'm gonna put this a little on the side. So anytime you guys see me grab the colors, you guys know which colors I'm gonna grab. I'm not gonna change my palette after that. I'm just gonna kind of keep it simple, just for you guys to be comfortable and understand what I'm doing. So if I grab more color, it's just the same colors. Like, what color did he grab now? No fantasy colors right here. All right, so here we go, you guys. So every time you watercolor, right? Watercolor is really unique. First of all, you layer, unlike oil or acrylic that most of you guys work with me, you layer from light to dark, not from dark to light, all right? And you always want to layer. The rule that I use, very simple rule, is lights and brights first, okay? So lights means anything that has, it might be cold, but it might be light. So it might be like a very light gray, so it might be cold, gray is theoretically cold. It might also be yellow and light, or it might actually be yellow and bright, okay? What I mean light is a lot of white. When I mean bright, it's more pigment, more saturated, right? So be careful with that terminology. Lights and brights are not the same. Light has a lot of white, bright has a lot of saturation, all right? So here, I'm gonna look to paint everything on the everything on the paper, but I'm gonna try to look to paint the lightest or the brightest color, all right? So here we go. Don't do grays. Grays are gonna be my next step, so sorry about that. I think I skipped a little bit. Thing number one, look for your lights and brights. Thing number two, look for your light, shadows, and midtones. So try to figure out where they go. Thing number three, try to look for your darker shadows and lines. At the very end is when you want to use lines. At the beginning, it's okay for the colors to bleed onto each other, all right? So here we go. Not to talk too much because then this thing is gonna dry on me. So right now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a mixture of that yellow ochre. I'm using my mop brush, or a brush that has a lot of water, okay? And I'm just gonna go ahead and start adding a lot of these really nice bright colors. If you see the photo, or if you print out the photo, you guys are actually gonna see the color saturation that I'm using, okay? Right now it's like, whoa, why is he using those colors? I cannot see a photo. Print it out or put it on your tablet, and you guys should be able to see that. All right, here we go, having fun, moving this thing around. It's like, the background is gray. Yes, but there is a little green to this gray, and if we know what makes green, blue, which is in gray, and a little bit of what is it, blue and yellow will actually yield that green that I'm looking for. All right. So I'm trying to bind everything together. And some of these colors, you might look at them and it's like, I think he's using too bright of a color. And that's because you're comparing my color to white. But when you actually start comparing my color to grays and other colors, you are gonna notice that my color in no way is actually too bright or too intense. It's actually still extremely light. All right, here we go. Have some fun. All right, pull the color here, pull the color there. I'm gonna do a really light blue. Remember what I told you? Some of the light colors are actually gray, so they're not even, you know, they're not even yellow, or they're not even what we usually think of a light color. So I'm okay if my color is there, even though it's barely visible. All right, move my color around. Whoa, that's way too intense. So I put my brush in the water. That's why you heard the, and now I'm just moving the color around. Don't panic. Don't use the paper towel unless you actually drop your worst color onto the picture. The most important thing is just not to panic. Okay, going to the paper towel on nicer paper is okay. On student grade paper, you're pretty much gonna mess up your paper pretty soon, okay? So here we go. I got my big color. I think I like what I did. I think it's fine. If not, I got layers on my eyes. All right, so I'm just gonna continue this kind of yellow color. And I don't know, it's like, some people get really scared. It's like, you used the yellow over the green. And it's like, yes, I did, but what color do you need to make green? You need yellow. So if we accidentally or actually want to get the yellow into the green, it's not a big deal, okay? It's actually okay. Now I'm actually gonna even do that on purpose just for you guys to start freaking out. It's like, why it's not yellow, it's green. It's like, oops. But whatever, we'll play around with this. So some of my blues over here, I see a little purple. Oh, it's a little too purple, so I'm gonna tone it down. But some of my blues I see with more of a purple color, so I'm just gonna grab a little bit more of the French ultramarine blue instead of my cerulean blue, which is a little bit more, just my cerulean blue is just a tiny bit more green. And I start seeing some little reds here. Color is relative, you guys, don't forget that either, okay? The more you add color to the picture, the more you start seeing what's missing on the picture. So if you just add yellow, well, you're not really missing anything. But the moment you start adding blues, your eye starts seeing things that it wasn't seeing before. It's like, oh, well, I see that blue, but I don't see it that blue. I see it more purple. All right, so then we add some purple to it. And then if you keep on adding color, your eye's gonna be even more and more critical, right? So right now, I'm letting my eye kind of be critical, all right? I'm letting it decide if I need to add purples or anything else to this. And finally, I'm still gonna add that yellow ochre, just very thinly through this front side. But this is gonna be a quick thing right here. You'll see why. One of my intense colors that I actually have here is more of a cerulean blue, okay? And the yellow ochre is only the light color that I see. So light has a color, and right here, the color of the light that I see, it just so happens to be a little bit warmer. But now I'm gonna go just a little crazy here. I'm gonna open up the image here. I'm gonna go just a little faster with a really nice cerulean blue, okay? So this is gonna be the nicest blue on my vase. And I'm gradually gonna push it into my yellow ochre. All right. I'm gonna push it into my mud here. I'm gonna push it into my color here. And once I push it over here to the back, once I push it over here to the bottom, then I'm gradually gonna start moving it into my yellow. So here I just clean my brush. There's no color in my brush whatsoever, and it's a little dry too. I'm just gonna go ahead and start moving my blue into my yellow. So I still have a yellow blue, but it's no longer yellow yellow, or it's no longer blue blue. It's kind of somewhere in between. So I'm gonna grab that cerulean blue. I still think my color's a little too weak. There we go. So remember, this is not a light color, but this is a bright color. All right. I'm gonna move this guy around. Nice, like it. Gonna let it get a little muddy right here. Find myself transitions. I'm still leaving that little twinkle. I don't know if you guys noticed that little circle right there. That's my highlight. All right, I'm not getting rid of it. And finally, just to finish this up, I'm gonna go again with my yellow ochre, but this time I'm just gonna go over my table surface. Again, everything here is really, really wet. You know what? I'm also gonna do just a base of a green using that nicer cadmium, my cadmium yellow and my cerulean blue. And I'm just gonna block in just the nicest green that I see on this picture. However, most of it is actually muddy, but there is a little nice one. Most of it is actually like more of an olive green, or not even an olive green. It's more of a sap green, but we'll desaturate that in a second. All right. Here we go. Brush. Here we go. All right. So here we go. Perfect. Your picture is done. No, I'm just kidding. Your picture's not done, but at this point, you guys actually have a pretty good start, okay? You guys have a really nice wash, and you guys have a really good drawing, first of all, and you guys have a very, very, very nice base of color. There's no boundaries. If you guys see, colors are mixing here. I might even dry my brush a little bit. Just get my brush, I'm drying it, cleaning my brush and drying it. And I might suck in some of this color here. You know, I don't want to wait for this to dry. And if I have such a wet color, it is gonna be a while. So right now I'm gonna do the magic of the internets. I'm gonna kind of pause here and instantly come back with a dry paper. We'll see you in a second.